It is good to be back. It is good to be back at the vise. So I know that I have mentioned more than once here that I've got a big build in mind, and we're still going to do it, but I really want to do it once the ice is gone. Instead, we're going to build something with a new mold that I've got. One, it's a classic. I'm sure many of you have it. It is the Ultra Minnow, made for bucktail jigs and the like. I got the one that will shoot, or pour rather, 1/2 ounce all the way up to 1.5 ounces. They do make a smaller version of this that I don't find a lot of places, but I've seen on like eBay. Definitely going to be looking into that for small bucktails as well. But for today, we are going to tie up a 1/2 ounce bucktail. I got a black and blue pattern in mind for that. So I've already got it poured. I've already got it painted. So let's jump into this build. Alright, so as I mentioned here in the vise, we've got that 1/2 ounce Ultra Minnow. This is on a 2/0 Victory 11635, more of a sickle style hook. I kind of like it. I'm trying something new. Usually these are round bends, but kind of like the look of it. Those nasty red eyes are sweet, and this one's got disco blue on top. So it's got a black undercoat and then disco blue on top, which I thought turned out really, really sweet. So we're going to be tying today with 210 denier flat wax nylon as usual in black. So we'll lay down a base starting right after the collar. First piece of material that we're going to put into this bad boy, I already have some cut up, is black extra select craft fur. Yes, craft fur. Even me, I've come over, I got like 12 bags of the stuff now. Never used to have it. Didn't really care for it, but I have come to appreciate it. So this is going to be some tailing material off the back. Get maximum length here. May have missed a few shorts. Pull those out. Like that. Could do this with bucktail right here too. I just like the straight look of that craft fur coming off the back end. There you go. No big deal on the little fuzzy stuff. That will be covered up in no time. Alright, so from there we are dipping into saddle hackle. So black rooster saddle hackle. I've got 4 of them already pulled out, and I want to get these, I'm going to do 2 on each side. I want to get these so that they, static electricity, there we go. So that they extend roughly about that same length, maybe even a little beyond. So we'll get it kind of measured up here. So that would be the same. We would tie in right here. So I'm going to go just a hair beyond. So almost to the fuzzy stuff on this feather. I've talked about feathers on the channel before, but I wanted to reiterate it. So where I cut that was before the fuzzy stuff, and in the fuzzy stuff is when the shaft of the feather effectively turns. So a feather, vertical, right? A vertical feather, the shaft when it's vertical is horizontal, right? So when we put it on the side of a hook that's round, this shaft is like this, and it's going on a round surface. So when it does that, it's going to want to spin because it wants the flattest part, which is on top now, against a wider surface area. So there's a couple ways you can deal with that. You either pick shorter feathers so that, let me get you an example. This isn't necessarily a shorter one, but if this was a shorter feather, if you didn't cut it until you were back here in the fuzzy stuff, you can actually see that the feather then goes from being horizontal in the vertical to, at the fuzzy stuff, the shape of that shaft actually turns. So now when the feather is vertical like that, if you cut it in the fuzzy stuff, your shaft is vertical as well, and that makes it real easy to dunk, put it right up on a hook, on the side of a hook, and not have it slide, because the widest surface area is in line with the vertical nature of the feather. So that makes it really easy to tie these in, and you can kind of think through your feather choice. The easiest way to put this in would be to find one where you can strip off the fuzzy stuff and plaster it right to the side of the jig, if that's the look that you're looking for. That's not going to be our case. So to compensate for that, since the widest surface area on this vertical feather, right, is this way, I need to put this feather not on the side of the hook, but on the top of the hook. So I'm going to place this feather on the top of the hook, which will align the flattest part of it with the top of the shank, and that will then help the feather stay as vertical as it can. See that? So there's one. Bit of a diatribe discussion there, but a lot of guys have a lot of trouble, myself included, with feather work, and that's part of the challenge, that those feathers always want to turn on you when you put them in. So if you can find feathers, like actually this one is almost to that flat section. If you can find feathers the right length, so you can cut them, assuming you're trying to put them in on the side like we usually do, if you can find feathers that are the right length to where you can cut them back into the fuzzy junk, it makes your life a whole lot easier. So this one, I think I might get away with doing that. Let's just see. Looks flat. It's crazy how, if you know that that's how the shank of the feather works, or the shaft of the feather works, and you start looking for it, you can actually see the flatness or the shape of that shaft change. See that? That was right on the side, and it's straight up and down. We got two more to go, so let's get those in as well. All right, now on to our first layer. We're going to have multiple layers of bucktail. We've got my black bucktail, which is going to be on the bottom. For this back section, I'm going to take the bucktail from not quite the tip, but the upper middle section. Relatively sparse little bunch here. I want that to go almost as far back as the craft fur, maybe a little bit less. So that looks pretty decent to me. And put her right. A couple loose wraps. Now hold tension so you can manipulate it. Want this not all the way around the shank, just about halfway. So that looks good. Go ahead and pull down, flare it out just a bit, and lock that in place. Coming back, we're going to leave it there because we're going to need to measure off our blue, which is next. Same stuff, that upper, not all the way at the tip, but I'm kind of thinned out here, so I'm going to grab it probably from about that area there. Alright, let's measure it up. So that's about the same length, a little longer. That looks pretty good there. Of course, I've already cleaned out the shorts, the butts, and kind of under fur. So give that a snip, flip it over, transfer it. I'm going to separate these two, get around the hook, and get this all the way up in there, evened up. Loose wrap to capture. A little bit harder to keep it in place. And now just make sure that it's well distributed. No gaps between the blue and the black. That looks pretty good. Alright, so from here, I actually want to flip it back over, come back to our bucktail, and we are going to use polar flash or polar chenille, excuse me, to build up a little bit of a body here before the next bit of bucktail. Alright, so I got my black polar chenille. Come around the front there just so that we can palmer it a little easier. And then bring this all the way up into the collar. I know I'm going to put bucktail here, so I'm going to go ahead and put a thread base down because that thread is going to help the bucktail grab a hold of something. And we want to bring the polar chenille right up into that collar, but not all the way through. So, a little half hitch there. Bring my bobbin cradle around. Now, make sure the fibers are faced backwards as best as possible. Backwards or down, either one, as long as it's not facing forward, because then you'll trap it. Get a wrap and a half. Just kind of grab a hold of all that, give it a nice little tug to lock it down in place. And walk it forward. I'm going to put a few wraps here at the base of that collar. Just kind of build it up on the collar before I force it over into the front collar. And then a wrap and a half will be good. There we go. Two behind. One in front. Lock it down. Another one just to keep it. Now we can cut off our excess. So that looks good. Now we're going to preen it back and make sure that the fibers go all the way back to the back of that collar. Just encourage those fibers to relax. There we go. See how they're folded back now? Looks good. So from here, another round of bucktail. So let's do black on the bottom. Probably around the same area, maybe a little bit lower to get just a little bit more flare than what we had in the back originally. Alright, let's get a measurement here. So this is the tips of the other, kind of like that. Place that so that the butts, I find it best if I can put those butts right in the middle of the collar, because as they spread out they'll move up a little bit. And I'm not getting the hair on as much as possible on the head. And it's wanting to do that even so, but that's alright. Pressure on the bobbin the whole time, otherwise I'll lose the hair. And just push it out so it covers about half. Oh no. Alright, rethreaded the bobbin one-handed. That was a chore. Back around. I never let go of that thread that was holding it in place. Combine the two, and we're back in business. I'm going to leave it there so we can measure the blue. So again, I'm going to be taking, boy, I really need some more blue bucktail, but I'm going to be taking it maybe from here. Yeah, I may be forced to take it from up here. We'll see. We'll get it figured out. Measure this off. A little longer. Deceiving. to where our black goes to. Okay. That blue down. Just pull back just enough. That looks good. Last bit. Actually, two more things. We got two more pieces. I want to put some Flashaboo in right along the sides. So this is blue holographic, I believe, Flashaboo. Sorry for the extra noise if you guys can hear that. The laundry is on. 4 or 5 strands. So I'm going to turn this to the side and put it right in the seam, right where the black meets the blue. Secure that down with a few wraps and bring it over so you guys can see. Bring it over, bring my thread over, and I'm going to use my thread to pinpoint right where I want that and lock it down. Just like that. Don't have to do it perfectly because we're going to put one more element on this guy. And I actually like the full length of that Flashaboo. You can see it goes right back into the feathers. So, very nice. The last piece is something new. Haven't used this on the channel yet. This is Senyo's Predator wrap in pearl. I found that you could take about a 1/2 inch, see that, and use it as a finishing, not wrapping it, but actually just placing it right on the top, letting it drape over the edge, and you get this nice, especially the pearl, right? No added color, just a little shimmer. You get this nice added effect across the top of the build as well as some of the side. I will say that they're all the same length, right? So you can, if we don't taper this a little bit, it may look a little blocky. So I'm going to do that 2 different ways. One, I'm going to come in and just take my scissors and just kind of jag it, right? Make a couple pieces a little shorter. And then I'm going to come in this side and cut down and flip it around since I'm right-handed, and come in and cut down as well. Just nice and easy. So we're going to take that piece, we're just going to lay it right on the top with the thread, or the cord rather, above it on the head, right? So wrap that two light wraps, and I want to take a look and make sure that I've got good coverage all the way around, or at least even coverage all the way around the top and the sides. If I like that, then go ahead and secure that in moving backwards first. Grab those curve cut scissors, and now I can trim off the cord. Come right in there and trim that cord off. And what I'm left with is just those fibers. You could cut them from the cord if you want to before you ever put them on. It's just they're really wispy and they'll go everywhere, and I just found it was easier to put them on that way. Pull them back and clean up this head. There we go. Whip finish. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Whip finish. Cut that off. But we are not complete. We are not finished on this guy. Those red eyes, to me, they are screaming for a nice red collar on this guy. I think it looks really nice. So this is just for dress, no structure that it adds to it, but we're going to add a nice red collar to offset, or to complement, I should say, those red eyes. Alright, last last but certainly not least, good old Sally Hansen's to make that red really pop. And that, I believe, is that. So there it is, ladies and gentlemen, our black and blue ultra minnow half-ounce, I guess, preacher jig, bucktail swim jig. I didn't mention this at the onset, but I'm in West Virginia. We don't have ledges here that I know of anyway, but we do have the tailwaters of some larger pieces of water, big dams, tailwaters afterwards, that have smallmouth in them, that have walleye in them, and I'm thinking this ultra minnow head would be an awesome walleye bucktail platform with some pretty loud colors. So I'm looking forward to doing some of that on the channel. But also, I'm pretty sure there's some hybrids in there, and I know hybrids will hit a bucktail jig just swam, whatever, through the water just like a regular swim jig. Jigging it along, you know, bouncing it, letting that bucktail do its thing. Let me let Sally Hansen's here dry, and then we will get some close-up shots for you guys, and we'll definitely get this guy in the test tank to see what it looks like underwater. Yeah, I tell ya, there's nothing quite like bucktail, right? I mean, I say that about a lot of stuff, but bucktail's pretty awesome. I am very much looking forward to ice out so I can try that guy and many other patterns just like it out at the rivers, the tailwaters. Shoot, I'm going to throw it at the lake and see if a largie is going to come up and smash it. I have high hopes. That was a fun build. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video as much as I did making it. If you'd like to see some more lure building just like that, click on this video right here. If you're curious about the name SDG, then click on this video right here. Otherwise, until the next time, I'll see you guys at the vise.